So we just got to wait for this guy. Oh, this is always painful. So from there, so I saved it already. So, you know, I want those trash cans back. So I'm actually going to, and this, I'm going to show you kind of the really greatness. I'm actually going to close the smart object because the smart object's still open. All this information, all this history is still here. All these layers are still here. I'm actually going to close it to show you guys kind of why I love smart objects so much. So we did these really great transformations. You know, we have the building standing straight up and down. The client's going to be thrilled, but we need to bring our trash cans back. So what we're going to do is actually double click on that smart object. It's going to open up that smart object again, as you can see. And if you look here, the transformation is gone. And the reason that is because you are inside the smart object. Anything you do while in this main layer on top of the smart object doesn't actually affect what's in here. So the reason why that's so great is, let's say, you know, you have to drop in another, like a person walking into the frame over here. You're not going to have to try and apply that same transformation to this image. You can just drop it in right here, just how you shot it. And then whenever you save that smart object, it's going to transfer over. Because, so we have this layer where our trash cans are gone. I want to turn it off, bring our trash cans back, look at them, oh so pretty. But, so what I'm going to do is hit save. It's going to save the smart object, so that way it updates the smart object. And look, our trash cans are back and nothing was changed. Those transformations that we did, all that work we just put in, it's still attached to the image. And that is why I think working with smart objects is just so amazing. Because I don't want to do a ton of work and then just all of a sudden have to go back because I missed something or I removed something accidentally. You know, now it says I updated the smart objects. You can go back and forth. And so, yeah, I'm going to save this again because I updated the smart objects exactly how I wanted it to be. So that's why, that's my little soapbox on smart objects, but I think they're just really fantastic. So, you know, the transformations were applied to kind of the outside of the smart object, one could say. And, you know, as you can see, this image could still use a little love. We got, you know, our tower, or our pillars rather, are a little cold. The blues could be enhanced. The highlights could be brought in. We could add a little bit more contrast. Now, there's another part of the Neat collection that I use called Color Effects Pro. What this program does is it gives me a lot of options for tonal contrast, like able to bring in some things that otherwise I wouldn't be able to just bring in with Photoshop. However, if you don't have those, one of my favorite tools to actually use is the Adobe Camera Raw filter. Now, another nice thing about smart objects, sorry, this is basically just an ad for smart objects. But another nice thing about smart objects is when you do a filter, it actually opens it up, or it applies it to the smart object, but it can be reopened to go back in and further edit it. So we're gonna do Camera Raw filter because a lot of what you can do can just be found in Camera Raw. Now, as you can see, when you open up Camera Raw, all of our transformations are applied, which is fine. You know, that's fine. So don't be surprised by that. But what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna do a little bit of my base, what I like to typically do for a client. So we're gonna dehaze it a bit. That brings in a bit more contrast, add a little bit of clarity. We don't wanna go too crazy because that looks horrendous and really grungy. Soft looks like you're in a dream. So I just kind of like to go either 5 or 10, depending upon, you know, what's going on. You know, I could even back off this dehaze a bit. I like to bump up the vibrance a bit. This is just personal preference. I like to put it at 10. And I'm actually going to bring down the highlights. As you can see, the Levesque is still pretty hot over here. So I'm going to turn down the highlights by about -25. And then I'm actually going to open up those shadow areas just a touch, let's say by we'll do 0.15. This is all playing around, you know, definitely play around, see what works best for your image. You know, furthermore, what I really like to do is to go into the color mixer. I have it set to all so I can see my hue, sat, and luminance all in one, but you can have, you know, them be just their singular things. You also have just the general adjustment of color as well, but I like to do hue, sat, luminance. You know, this blue, I think we could really make our sky sing. So I'm going to turn up the sky. Look, it's really making that pop. Now make sure you don't go all electric. You know, up here, or it's easy to make the sky look electric, so you don't want to do that. I also like to deepen the sky a bit. And then let's see, we got some orange. I know we got some oranges in this building. So let's see. Yep, there they are. So we're going to make that pop a little and actually darken, because we know that's kind of more of a dark building. Darken that image a bit. So let's see. We got some color that I don't really want, but I'm going to show you how to get rid of that in a minute. To preview all of what you've done, you know, you can either hit the little eyeballs here or simply hit P to take off all the adjustments and see how we're looking. And we're looking much, much better. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to hit OK. We're going to commit to the changes. And as you can see here on our smart object, it pulls up something called a smart filter. Now we have a camera raw filter, and I can click this on and off, which is really, that's why I love this so much. Additionally, what I can do is, let's say I actually want to do some masking in Adobe Camera Raw. I love masking in Adobe Camera Raw now. So I'm going to open up another Camera Raw filter. I'm going to go to the masking area, and I am actually going to do, I like to do a brush a lot. And I'm going to do new brush, auto mask, yes. And then let's see. And I have the show overlay turned on, which is really good. Let's make, I want to make these pillars not so cold, specifically this one. So I'm going to paint this in really quick. Oh, come on, guy. Sometimes with that auto mask, it doesn't do it right away, so you got to kind of work on it a bit. And I'm, like I said, I'm using a Wacom tablet. I find that easiest for painting in. If you don't have access to a Wacom tablet, that's perfectly acceptable. I didn't until not that long ago, but I do love it. I cannot say enough how much I love this tablet. Let's see, where did my, oh, is it that tiny? Oh my, okay. I want to get it off of this cement down here. I don't want it on the steps. Kind of likes to go a little rogue sometimes. Okay, so that's lovely. So now I'm going to turn off the overlay. And like I said, I want to warm this up. So I'm going to, there we go. Look at that nice warm pillar now. Now it matches a bit more to the other side. Probably actually add a little magenta, a little too much. Okay, that looks really, really good. Now, also, let's see. Also, we, you know, like I said, there's some stuff in here that I don't like the blue that's being reflected in the sky. But what I'm gonna do, we have this one mask, so I'm just gonna stick with this for now. And then we're gonna hit OK, because that's all I want to do for this layer. And as you can see, we now have 2 camera raw filter layers, which is awesome. You can turn one off over the other. So this was all those edits that I made in terms of, you know, dehazing, clarity. I can turn that off, but keep the warm pillar turned on. Or I, you know, have them on. I have a lot of flexibility here because I'm able to access those filters separately. Also, additionally, let's say I want to go back in and dehaze even further. I can double click, you know, the filter I want to open. Photoshop will give you a warning that smart filters stacked on top of this filter will not preview while this filter is being edited. They will be applied after committing the filter parameters. So that's just something to keep in mind, especially if you're doing, you know, a lot of heavy stuff. But I just want to dehaze this just a bit more, add a bit more contrast. And now it's at 15. And I'm going to hit OK. It's going to say progress. It's going to update those smart filters or the filter. And so, yeah, there we go. And we can go back in the history and see the changes we've done. So, and then we can also turn them off if we want. And so I'm going to hit save. I like to save multiple times. I have been in too many situations where things have been deleted. What I'm going to do is, you know, I'm going to go back into the space layer and let's see if there's anything else that needs to be done. Really, besides sharpening it, I don't think so. I do think what I am going to do, oh, there's a bit of ghosting right there. Oh, and right there. Oops. Oh, well, that's okay. Rolling with the punches, right? Okay, so, you know, this is pretty, it's softer than what I would like. So I'm actually going to close the smart object. I don't need to do anything else in here. And I'm going to sharpen this. Now I'm going to sharpen this using the Neat Collection filters. You can easily sharpen it either in Adobe Camera Raw or by going to Sharp, Unsharp Mask. If you are using a new MacBook or new Mac with the M1 processors, and you have used, and you know, you got a lot of movement in your shot, and you know, if you use the sharpen shake reduction option, I will tell you this, I found this on my laptop, you actually have to have Photoshop running through Rosetta because then you will have the shake reduction option available. For some reason, Adobe has not updated Photoshop to work fully with the M1 processors for some reason. So that is just something to keep in mind. You may need to run Photoshop through Rosetta to have all your typical filters accessibility. But like I said, that's only if you have a lot of movement in the shot and that you really need to sharpen it a lot. A lot of times when you photograph people, like let's say you're doing a portrait and you have a lot of soft focus, sharpen shake reduction is really good for that. But like I said, I'm going to use the program that I really like. So I do apologize if you guys don't have this. As you can see, the Neat Collection has analog effects, such as fun stuff, Color Effects Pro, which I use a lot. Define 2 actually gets rid of grain. HDR effects we actually use. Perspective effects is a new one I haven't used yet. And that actually just does what we did with the transformation tool. And then you have the Sharpener Pro, raw pre-sharpener, and then the output sharpener. And so I'm gonna use that. My output sharpener really quickly. And this is just because this is the program I really like to use. I'm gonna focus this, and we're still pretty soft. That's way softer than what I would like. So I'm actually gonna go in a little bit further and potentially use that shake reduction tool, I think. So, okay. And we have that weird thing going on with the ghosting. Let's just not worry about that now. So I'm gonna hit okay. This is gonna take a moment. So now from here on out, all my filters will take a hot minute, but because the Neat Collection tools actually do, they're kind of memory hogs. But we're gonna go to sharpen shake reduction because I really don't like how soft this is up here. The only reason why my image is that soft is because the shift was so high that the lens does have limitations. This just turned horrendous. As you can see, it looks awful right now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go, I have low source noise because this was a shot that was taken, you know, there at 100 ISO, 100 to 200 ISO. We're actually going to do, it just keeps getting worse and worse. We're going to change where the source noise is. And then, my goodness, this really just blew up, didn't it? Okay. And then we're going to do artifact suppression. Let's see. Sometimes I go the wrong way with this. I think I did go the wrong way. Yes. Okay. Artifact suppression, I like to have up high. I'm actually going to, oh, okay, not what I wanted to do. I like it when this is popped out. There we go, my goodness. Okay, see things a bit better here. And then we're also gonna do, turn off the smoothing. We don't need that much smoothing. See if we blur trace bounds. Sometimes this doesn't always work. I thought it might in this case, but might not. No, wrong way. That got real fun. I mean, it's sharpened it a little. And I think for this purposes, it will be sufficient. You will see though how we have an enormous amount more green. Let's see if we turn to high. Sometimes that either helps us or makes things much worse. Yeah, could be worse. So, you know what, this will suffice. It's not exactly what I want, but it definitely does make it sharper. So we're gonna hit okay. Applying shake reduction. Now, as you can see, all these sharpened filters are stacked on top of my camera raw filters, and I can turn them all off, and yet they're all still there. So, you know, that's, once again, really love smart objects. But anywho, so, you know, we're gonna say that this is okay. I'm gonna end up cropping this because if you turn off the layers below, you see that we have some of that open area. So I'm just gonna hit C really quick. And I'm gonna just crop it in. Usually I like to stick with a ratio, but for this, we're just gonna do it quick and dirty and make sure that the building is centered as much as humanly possible without getting to the nitty gritty and measuring. And there we go. So it's gonna save the crop. Sorry, it's just taking a moment. Like I said, computer's kind of bogged down right now. But hopefully, you know, I'm gonna fix that here momentarily. Okay, so now we're gonna save this image. And there we go. So as that's saving, so as you can see, you know, we really went through and we kind of made something that was super angled, which many of you might capture because you don't have accessibility to tilt shift lenses. And we straightened it up. And not only that, we brought in the skies, we just made it more vibrant. This is much better than this kind of flat, not so much color image that we originally started with. Sorry, I like to save a lot. So from here, actually what I'm gonna show you is also another project as well that I photographed interiors and exteriors. And that's, you know, because you're gonna do a range. So I'm gonna pull up Bridge, I already have it open. And these files I've already worked on, I've already done retouching on, but I'm gonna kind of open them up show you the separate layers so that way we don't have to go back through and do the transforming, do the editing again, just to kind of show you what I did. I don't know if many of you know where this is. This is actually right up the street from CCAD in what is known as the warehouse district. Here's the fire station that is always going off. But this was for the architect who created the stairwell within the building, who redesigned it, and he wanted it captured for an award submittal. So, you know, I was tasked with this little project. And, you know, when you do architectural photography, you have these big expansive images, and then you also do have these smaller detail shots. So, you know, if you're doing work for this class, there are opportunities to do these small detail shots as well, but they all will need photo retouching. So let's start with the exterior. Since we just did an exterior image, we're going to open this guy up. And as you can see, and like I said, you know, I've already done work to this. I have my smart object here, and I also have my color and my sharpening filter. So I'm going to turn those off real quick. You know, we go from really contrasty. This was, I believe, shot in August, July, August. So it was super bright, sunny day. It was awesome outside. Way better than right now, but you know, so we had to open up the shadows and kind of balance it a bit more. But so let's, you know, really dive in and see what I did. If we turn off the smart object completely, you'll see that there is some window glare I took care of. There is actually a whole person I dropped in. And that's really primarily it. I did not need to do much straightening of this building. This is, you know, an old historic building. And so a lot of times you will see that they are not perfectly straight up and down. And so, but for this one, I didn't do a lot because this line right here was looking good. This edge I couldn't see much on just because of the nature of the brick. But this edge looked good, so I just kind of kept it. Unfortunately, you know, because it's Columbus, we do have tilty power line poles, and that just kind of is what it is. I wasn't gonna be too concerned about that. So let's open up the smart object and really see what I did. You'll see like I said, love working in layers. I'm not really sure right now why this is a smart object, but you know, actually if we open it up further, what do we get? Oh, we just get the camera raw kind of base, and you'll see all my edits here that I did. So you know, you'll see my dehazing, my clarity, shadows, highlights, and how they're all changed. I edited the blues. I'm sure if I go in here, let's see. Yeah, primarily just the blues. You'll see the luminance at the bottom. So let's get out of here. We don't need to cancel all changes. Yes, cancel all those changes. So if I turn off all these layers, as you can see, owl goes away, the polarized cars go away, because now we have that really distracting blue sky reflection. And also the hue, I'm not really sure what I did for hue. Oh, there we go. I turned down those really bright pylons that are protecting the gas, the gas pump from being hit by, actually, oddly enough, the architect's car. So, so yeah, so it's, that is just something that they were super distracting. So as you can see here, with my layers, I turned on the polarizer. So now the reflections down here aren't very distracting. And then also I dropped in Al walking. And he conveniently, I had him cover up that gas meter so it isn't so so prevalent in the shot. And then, you know, once that is saved, I'm not going to save it because I didn't do anything. I was then able to apply my color and open up those shadows and sharpen it a bit. So that is, you know, one example of an exterior where you have to drop somebody in and any color edits that you want to do that you prefer to do after, you know, Smart Objects is really good. Sorry, another ad for Smart Objects. Anywho, I do apologize. I don't mean to. So let's go back into Bridge and let's open up one of these interiors because I know that they are definitely angled. And you know what? This shot is a good one because it does have, you know, some transforming that I had to do. So let's open it up. And as you can see, I have my guidelines here. And because this is an old building, this one was really, I really just focused on the stairwell, steel lines, and also this lines in the front. Anything back here, I think it could be fixed further. However, I know it was affecting the stairwell, which was the most important thing to make sure that we got straight. So I'm going to turn off the guides real quick, and which, you know, is Command semicolon, and to show you what this base shot looks like. So, you know, our model isn't in the center. We have this beautiful fire extinguisher and fire sign right here. And just let's see what other differences we have. We have some glare on the floor, and just some really ugly color back here. Now, whenever I click this on, you'll see all these edits have been made. Some of the color edits were done in Smart Filters, the sharpener and the camera raw filters in particular, but the other edits were actually done after the fact. Now, all transforming edits were done on this layer. So as you can see, even with a tilt shift lens, we have some distortion here. You see how that's curved up at the top. So this was actually done using the warp tool. I, you know, pulled it up and just managed to grab those things. I don't know. I can actually show you really quickly the warp tool because this is a good one. If you have nitty gritties, you just go to edit, transform, warp. Now with the newer Photoshop, it used to be you didn't have very many grid options. You actually only have one, but now you have the 3x3, 4x4, and 5x5. I believe mine defaults to, I think that's the 4x, but no, not the 4x4. Oh my. I don't know what mine defaults to, but it's crazy. So custom, you can also do custom size as well. This must be the 3x3. But what we're gonna do, we're just gonna keep it on that. And so what you do is you just grab a corner and then you just pull. Now be careful though, because other things will go with it. But you can do very tiny adjustments here and it's really great. You have a lot of play with this as well, just like with distort. You know, if you grab the center things, you can move just that. It's a really crazy tool. I definitely recommend you play around with it. I'm gonna exit out of that and open this back up. So that being said, I had to do transforms, you know, in order to get this guy straightened up. But you know, I also had to drop in a model and I had to remove the fire extinguisher, so on and so forth. So let's open up this Smart Object and see what I all did. Now you can see here, my love of layers definitely came through here. And I'm gonna show you what the base layer looks like. It looks like that. And I first start off with a base clean. What this was is I copied this base layer and then I do a base clean. That's where I removed the fire extinguisher because no matter what I did, I want to get that out of the shot. It's not pretty, doesn't look good. And then the next thing I did was I did a base clean copy. And this, you'll see I have a mask on, is only for this area, this white area. And I wonder if I actually, I wish I could go back and see exactly what I did. It looks like I neutralized that color a bit and made it a cooler tone so it wasn't so warm, and also brightened it up a bit. And then, you know, this next layer is my model. There he is. He's moving. And you'll subsequently see I have these layers that are, I wish I could remember the term for it right now, but this little arrow, you get it by doing the option button and then clicking on in between the two layers. So I can either connect them or disconnect them. But as you can see, so what that does is that applies these settings just to this singular layer. This works a lot if you're masking. This is a really convenient thing because, like I said, if I disconnect these, it now turns those adjustments to everything, not just my model, but I want it just on my model. So I'm going to make sure that that's clicked. It's just on that layer mask. So there we have them. We brighten them up a little bit, give them some vibrance. And then here we have a curves layer. The polarizer did not work in this situation. So actually what I did was I added some curves, made the floor a bit darker so it didn't look so washed out. And that looks so much better. And then finally, I did some wall cleanup, which you can't really see unless you get into the nitty-gritty, but it just wasn't a very clean wall. There was marks on it, you know, so on and so forth. So I did some wall cleanup. All in all, though, these are all of our, oh, it's a clipping mask. That's what that is whenever you attach it just to the single layer. Sorry, a clipping mask. Anyhow, so, you know, as you can see, I did a lot of work within that smart object, which then applied, once I saved it, it applied it to the overall image, and I was able to do those transforming. Because even in your interiors, you're going to want to make sure your verticals are straight up and down. And if you're shooting axial, you're going to want to make sure that your horizontals are straight up and down, especially if you don't have a level and are just kind of eyeballing it. That's really important. So as you can see, those transformations went over, and then the color, I neutralized the color a bit more. I got rid of a lot of that warm yellow bleed. Another good example of work done. Let's see how, because this is shot axial and we're going to need, you know, our verticals straight up and down. Let's have it load. There we go. So as you can see, I have my guidelines here. For steps, I like to do, you know, a guideline closer to the top, guideline at the bottom, especially for steps in old buildings or old homes. I live in a house that was built in 1910. So I can tell you, my steps are definitely not even, nor are my floors. Whenever my son puts a little car on the floor, sometimes it will just roll one direction. And, you know, it's rather interesting. But anywho, so in this shot, as you can see, you know, if you turn off the smart object and you look at what I had to do, my verticals aren't perfectly straight. I have, you know, I'm not perfectly lined up to those steps. I have some gap at the bottom there along that guideline. I have some gaps along this vertical guideline. And also I have some gaps. I believe I was using this line in the wall to try and, you know, line up the wall. The walls are hard because, as I mentioned, this is an old building, so not everything is straight. It just is what it is. And you just kind of got to roll with it. But once I turn on those adjustments, you'll see I was able to fix everything. So, you know, the transform tools, that's something that you use not only for exteriors, but also for interiors. I'm just going to open this up real quick, see what I did. Make sure I don't turn that guy back on because he obviously is not supposed to be turned on. And let's see if I turn all these off. Oh yeah. So, you know, there's the fire alarm, everything. I turn these back on. Oh yeah, because that looks terrible. I did a terrible job there. So we don't want that layer. That layer is there for me to remember my mistake. So if we turn these back on, it just looks so much better. You know, and even something as simple as I photographed this shot with and without a polarizer. And as you can see, just something as simple as masking out this area to add a bit more contrast. looks really good. I removed this bolt. I didn't like how that bolt looked. And just that little bit of contrast just really made this pop and made the image more successful. So let's go back. So if we turn off all these guides so you can see this image a bit better, you know, this is where we started, definitely a little bit angled, and that's where we finished. So not a lot of work was done, but enough work to definitely make a difference. So all in all, you know, I could show you tons of examples of different different buildings I've captured, you know, everything from the A loft where there was a lot of different stitching, you know, for the rooms to make sure everything was lined up correctly, especially on these axial shots, you know, to things like this is a good example of one where, you know, we need to capture the view, and this window definitely wasn't, you know, perfect in its construction. But to also drone shots where, you know, I might have, although I photographed it with the drone and it was, here, I'll just double click it. And although the camera, you know, stated it was level, there was still some adjustments that needed to be done to the sides, which that one you can't really see very much of. They might have not picked the one with the heavy adjustments needed. But anywho, so there are tons of examples. If any of you need, I'll just leave it on one of my favorite images. If any of you, you know, want to discuss with me further, you know, the little tips and tricks that I use, or want me to go more in depth, I'm happy to meet with any of you. I can meet with you via Zoom, Zoom or Google Meet, and we can just go from there. This was really just meant to be a quick tutorial to get you started, introduce you to the transform tools, which, you know, are, there we go, edit, transform, and really how to play around with those. I'm gonna do this one real quick, do transform perspective. And as you can see, that actually looks pretty good. But, you know, I could change this all kinds of crazy. But yeah, you know, this was just a quick little tutorial. I just wanted to introduce you guys to how we edit photos and what you kind of need to do to really make your images sing. Like I said, if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to either comment on the video or contact me directly, and get my email address from Brad, and he will definitely connect us. So I hope you all found this tutorial very useful, and I wish you the best of luck. And yeah, have fun editing. I love editing photos, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Bye.